The Broncos came into this one with 11 straight wins. Well, that streak is over. A statement win by Trevor Lawrence and the Jags. They take this one 34-20. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Katie Caldwell. This is Jeff Lloyd. Jeff, let's start there with the Jags. Trevor Lawrence and this offense, they look so good. And I'll admit, I've had moments where I was pretty out on Trevor Lawrence, where I just didn't ever think that we would see the high ceiling that we thought he would have. Not anymore. This game in particular, I think, really showed the chemistry that all of these guys have, and I think Lawrence is playing by far the best ball in his career.
Well, I mean, if you had said to somebody, right at the end of April after the draft, "Hey, guess what? Jacksonville is gonna be at 11 wins with 2 games to go."
Yep,
What would have everybody said to you? "Wow, Ryan Thomas Jr. had a monster sophomore year, and
that's
Travis
true.
Hunter was an absolute star." Parker Washington and Jakobi Meyers. And again, a team just saying,
Travis
"Look,
Etienne as well.
yep. I don't know what necessarily the script was supposed to be, but this is who it's working best with right now. So this
Yes.
is who we're going to operate with now." Then you throw in something like uh, Trevor Lawrence has more rushing touchdowns than Bijan Robinson. So it just shows you that Lawrence is doing a little bit of everything at the position. And, we've talked about Lawrence a ton this season, and there's been
Mhm.
really good stretches for him and then bad stretches for him. Well, this is the best stretch by far he has ever had. There's
The
no doubt
consistency,
about
the
it.
accuracy, it just feels like it's coming together at a time that they want it to come together.
He looks like the kid during COVID that every NFL general manager was drooling over the
Exactly.
aspect of having the possibility. And, now here it all is. Look, it takes time. And, it takes time to get the team right as well. But to go in there in that place, which is an extremely difficult place to play on the road.
Against this
And
defense.
I think the other thing that kind of impressed me is you held off the late Denver, 'cause that's what it kinda felt
The
like.
late
It was like,
comeback, yeah.
all right, well, where's gonna be, the second version of Bo Nix that comes running out of the telephone booth
Yep.
to save the day? No, because not only do they go in there and knock them around, when Denver tried to get off the mat, they basically knocked them down again.
Mhm.
And by far the most impressive effort for Jacksonville this year.
Yep.
And, it was, I think, in with the whole AFC South, and, we really thought, where it was going to go for the Colts. And unfortunately, everything kind of fizzled away, as we all know. And even when Jacksonville was starting to rise, it kind of felt like, well, all right, well, here comes this Jacksonville 2-game, 3-game losing streak where,
And
you
the
teased
Texans are rising
everybody.
too.
Exactly. And then, you teased everybody. Oh, wait, you flat tire, side of the road, and here's Jacksonville
Yeah.
looking like crap again for 2, 3 weeks. Looks real this time. And I got to be honest, watching Liam Coen coach this team, watching the
Mhm.
players react, watching the players interact with Liam Coen, who have got their guy. And
Yep.
I think this is what's gonna really, really have a big effect on, teams contemplating coaching switches this year. There's
Mhm.
no Ben Johnson out there. There is no Liam Cohen out there
Yep.
this year. So if you're gonna pull the plug, don't assume you're gonna get one of these 2 first-year coaches
Yeah.
who are already, who one does have a playoff berth, the other one's about to get a playoff berth. Don't think you're getting that, because these guys ain't out there.
Well, and I don't know if you caught his comments post-game, but he alluded to that subtle dig by Sean Payton saying that this is a smaller market team, and he said, "This narrative is only helping them." And that's the thing, I give so much credit to Cohen and how this Jags team has looked this season.
And the thing is, and this is why they were chosen to be an expansion team. I mean, first off, people, professional athletes, you want to go play in Florida. Why? No state income tax. So right off the bat, you're making more money.
Yeah.
Then you factor in the amount of guys in the NFL that are from Florida. So
Mhm.
the opportunity to go back there and go home. It was always a destination that players were going to be interested in. God, Toby Myers was there for what, 16 days and signed a 3-year extension. I'm here, I'm good, I mean, that could also be that, my God, thank God I'm out of Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he was there for basically a hot minute, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm in, 3 more years, let's
Yeah.
do this." But it's also a culture, it's a vibe, and,
Mm.
and I'm sure Liam Cohen said, "Look, I really need you. You have no idea how integral I am going to make you to this team."
Mm.
And, a man of his word. And, Jakobi Meyers became a huge, huge part of this team. Etienne, outstanding. They have
Yep.
2 rookie running backs that, can help, can contribute. And,
Their tight
defensively,
ends, Brenton Strange had a
yeah,
great game.
absolutely. Absolutely, and you think about this was a team that moved on from Evan Ingram. So this was a team that
That's
moved on
right.
from a guy who was a very high volume producer, took a lot of targets, and, as they were trying to shift more to wide receivers, still obviously
Mhm.
trying to incorporate the tight end, they just really kinda have it all going. You're running it a little bit, you have a mobile quarterback,
Yeah.
you've got decent wide receivers, you got tight ends that can make plays, and obviously a defense I don't know is I wouldn't say they're like, championship caliber. But if Trevor Lawrence is going to play like this, it's real
Mhm.
easy to go say, I'll just sit and dime. I'll play some deep cover too, and hopefully we get after the passer.
Well, and one thing about that defense too, they're second in the league in takeaways, first in the AFC. Last season they forced an NFL low 9 turnovers. So what is so different specifically about this defense this season when it comes to these takeaways?
It was more, and this led to the early season trade, where they brought in Greg Newsome and they moved on from Campbell, with who says they sent to the Cleveland Browns. This is why teams play zone coverage. This is why
Mm,
you do it because it gives you the opportunity to. Because what it is you're usually never alone unless you're in like a deep third. So if you're playing it underneath and you're taught and you're coached, if you think there's any possibility you can get your hand on this ball, go for it. Because even if it
mm,
gets through you and the guy catches it, there's somebody behind you. So you can gamble in zone. And, and the thing is with turnovers, it becomes almost, it just picks up momentum. Like if you got one, man, well, I'm going to try 10 times harder to get one myself.
yeah.
And, it absolutely just kind of goes that way. And it's really become kind of a rallying cry, for that Jacksonville Jaguars defense. It
Mhm.
certainly helps that, hey, if I will absolutely put this ball back in 16's hands because he is cooking right now.
Yeah.
And, that's the way you got to deal with it. It's the way you got to approach it. But, they made a switch in scheme and then made a personnel switch, kind of doing it around what they needed. And the thing that's kind of really smart for Jacksonville is this is going to give them some sustainability because it is easier to find, and it is also more cost effective to find players to play in a zone scheme
Mm,
as it is to go pay man-to-man guys. Those
right.
guys cost money. They cost a lot of money.
Mhm.
So now where you re-signed to Jakobi Meyers, you have a first-round pick invested in Brian Thomas Jr., a first-round pick invested into Travis Hunter. This is what can give this Jacksonville thing some legs and some stability to it to not just be a 2025 thing.
What do you see from the Broncos in this one? I think I'm not used to their defense allowing 34 points, but then I think there's a part of me that I expected the comeback at the end because we've seen that again and again and again. I was a little surprised, but it's a fun game.
Well, I had said this, and as this number kept going and getting higher as far as the streak, I was the one, and I'm sure nobody in Denver wants to hear this. Is look, I don't want to go to the playoffs on a 12 or a 13 game win streak, because it just feels it takes so much out of you to just keep the streak going.
Right.
And I think not necessarily that a loss is good in any way whatsoever, but it does give you kind of a reset moment,
I
and
feel like we
now
saw
for
that
the
with the Patriots, with the
absolutely,
Bills.
and 100%. And I think with, the coaches, it's kinda, "Hey, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. We all what do you mean? We just lost at home by double digits." So,
Mhm.
anybody who's looking at that number 1 seed and where it says Denver next to it, it don't mean nothing. It's gonna come down. It's the same as seeding means nothing. You need to win, and then you
Mhm.
need to continue to win. You lose, it doesn't matter what seed you are. You lose, you're done, you're out. So I think for Peyton and his staff, this is a really good opportunity to reset some things, maybe tweak some things if you feel the need for it
Mhm.
there. But again, I am not a huge fan of teams trying to ride 13, 14 game winning streaks or going from no middle of October and hopefully being able to race the Lombardi. Sometimes a loss it'll help you more than you want to believe it will.
Did this game change how you feel about either of these teams, or was there anything new that you learned about them?
I think I think I'm done tap dancing around Jacksonville. I think they're
I've
low.
that
I
was
think
my big
it's
takeaway too.
I think
I
it's
that the chemistry of that offense, that was something to behold.
I also think that, maybe Denver was also kind of where we were. And it was, what's the old, oh, I did not respect your game. And I think that was kind of the moment for Denver yesterday was, oh, you guys are like this.
I was not familiar
And
with your game. Yeah.
100% is kind of the way, it was my takeaway from Jacksonville
Yeah.
yesterday. And, and credit to Jacksonville, maybe this wasn't the way it was supposed to work out. It looked like the Colts had this all sewed up, but, Jacksonville just got into, a groove. Bringing
Mhm.
Myers in was huge. Obviously, the role for Parker Washington, who nice day to have a big day when you're about to hit free agency in March. Really
And a
well
few
played,
big
Parker
days in a
Washington.
row. He like
Absolutely. And the thing is he's a return guy as well. He's
mhm,
always been a nice player down in Jacksonville, but now that they're, playing better, putting up more yards, putting up more points, it's the opportunity for everybody to kind of even get more involved. And he certainly saw that, for Washington. Jacksonville, they're going to be a tough out. They're going to
mhm.
be a tough out. And, there's going to be a playoff game in Jacksonville. And, then most likely they're going to have to go on the road from there. But, if you're Jacksonville right now, you went and won in Denver. There ain't nowhere else in the AFC you're scared of going right now.
Well, and it begs the question to me, like, the more we see of this Jags team, I wanna check in, like, what is their ceiling? It just feels like you and I have talked so much throughout the entire season about the parity in the NFL right now. They still have a shot to secure the top spot in the AFC, and it just feels like I don't know if they're a team I wanna play in the playoffs right now.
And that's where it's gonna be so interesting, and I am so looking forward, to the playoffs because there's gonna be so much newness and
Yes.
different. Denver is a top team, New England's a top team, there's a really good chance
No
Jacksonville's gonna
Chiefs,
be a top
likely no
team.
Ravens.
Yes, and a Charger team that, let's not sleep on an 11-4 Charger team here right now. So there is gonna be it's gonna be really interesting because I think there's gonna be a big feeling that it's just unknown. So I think for a lot of us,
Mhm.
we're gonna sit here, we're gonna put out content, and we're gonna try to sound intelligent and tell you things. But I mean, I think for the most part, we're all gonna sit down for every one of these NFL playoff games, and it's just gonna be like, grab your favorite drink because I don't necessarily know what's coming. Because now teams are gonna be striving to the point where they ever haven't been, or the way they're built, they haven't been there as a team. So, it's gonna be really intriguing. And, I'm not trying to, make Denver or, of course, any of the top seeds in the AFC, but who's to say the 6th seed doesn't get hot or the 7th seed doesn't
Yep.
get hot? It's gonna be a really fun ride in the AFC playoffs this year.